Hey everybody, welcome to the Recovery Clinic. My name is Ashley and I'm going to be your host today. Although I have a special co-host, Mr. Kyle Brewer. Hey Kyle.
Hey Ashley, thank you.
What's up? Okay, so today we have Samantha Ellis from Bradley County Medical Center. She's our peer in South Arkansas. She's going to be on today telling her story, talking about what it's really like in Southern Arkansas being a peer. But before we get to that, I just want to basically say thank you to everyone who came to the bridge last night. We had a fantastic outcome. Last night was Overdose Awareness Night, and we all came together to bridge the gap on the bridge, the Clinton Library Bridge, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. The posters for Can You See Me Now were there. We had the Hope Movement and the Parker Gill Foundation that put it on, and it was an amazing event. You were there, weren't you, Kyle?
Absolutely. It was a powerful demonstration of people in recovery coming together with family members who have lost loved ones to an overdose, and allies and leadership, and we just all came together and remembered those that we've lost, but also celebrated those that are in recovery today and vowed to, break stigma and continue to move forward.
And that's what it's all about, breaking that stigma and moving forward. It was so powerful when we first walked across the bridge, when we got between the posters. They had posters hanging on each side of the bridge while we were walking, and the hair on my arms literally stood up because it was, you could just feel the power in the common reasoning. We were all there together, and I think it's that's probably my most favorite day of the year in recovery. And it segues right into September, which is National Recovery Month. Yay! So, purple is my favorite color ever. Absolutely ever. And so the entire month of September, I get to wear all the purple in the world. And so we've got all of our representation here going on for purple for Recovery Month. So speaking of Recovery Month, this is the month where we put on our peer conference.
Yes.
Tell us about it, Kyle.
Well, we have the Peer Recovery Conference coming up next Wednesday through Friday, and it is going to be an amazing 3 days of just learning, growing, networking, hearing some incredible, powerful stories, and just really highlighting the peer support community in Arkansas and the work that's being done across our state.
That's right. That is so true. And so I know that we have a lot of our peer recovery specialists who have already gone through training that are going to be there this coming week to learn and network a little more and kind of build those relationships. But then I know that we have a lot of people that are new to recovery that are going to learn about what it's like to be a peer recovery specialist, so that whenever it gets to be their time, they're going to be some of the next generations coming through.
Yeah.
And that's exciting because that's actually how I got my start. The very first Arkansas it was actually the first Region 6 Peer Recovery Conference, and it was held here in the state of Arkansas. And it was in August of 2019. That was when I got introduced to peer recovery, and I knew what my purpose in life was from that point forward. That was where I met Jimmy, and he was going live on his Facebook page, and I thought, wow, he's not ashamed at all. Look at what he's doing. Look at how he's promoting people like me. I guess at that point in time, I knew that there were a lot of us like us, but I didn't really understand the magnitude of how big we could take this, and I don't think there's anywhere I go these days where I'm not out loud about it, I don't talk about it, and that I don't meet other people like us. It's like we have this special sign over our heads. I really truly believe that. It's like God-centered right here. Hello, right? Yeah. Kyle's looking at me like you're so stupid.
Well,
Ashley.
it's just one of the things we do as peer specialists is we share our story, live our recovery out loud, because as we were talking about earlier, that can be the thing that unlocks someone else's courage to step out and ask for help, or to step out and share their story. And that's what it's all about, empowering people to find and sustain a life of recovery.
That is right. Absolutely right. So now I want to talk to Samantha. Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
That is awesome. So how was your trip up here this morning?
It was long.
It was long, yeah. I don't want to be in the car that long.
It was great, though.
That's awesome. I know you've been really looking forward to today, right?
Yes.
That is right. Okay, so I think we're going to jump in here, and I just want to kind of learn more about you. Tell me what your early life was like, what led you up to recovery, and how you got started doing what you're doing.
Okay, well, I'm going to go way back to my childhood. And so, you know, I grew up with a mother who had some severe mental illness, and she was on disability, so we were very poor. And you can say I was the laughing stock of all the kids, because now if I tear up, you just have to overlook that, okay? So, because kids can be so mean in school, and bullying is real. And so I was always a laughing stock because I had matted hair, or I was the stinky girl, you know. So we were poor. And so we were in and out of foster homes because of this, because she didn't have a lot of money and she wouldn't know to properly pay her bills, so to speak, you know. So when I was 12, we moved to a new town, good old Greenbrier, Arkansas.
Woo!
Yeah. And I finally found a group of like skater type people, and I suddenly felt loved and accepted. Because, you know, I remember we would tell our mom, "We love you," and she would never answer us. She would just, yep, I love you, okay. You know, we never got that, you know, no hugs, nothing. So you can understand I was pretty broken as a little girl. She was always asleep on the couch or up going crazy on people, so there was like no in between. I never had nobody to teach me right from wrong, no father figure in my life. So anyway, so back to the group of people I met in Greenbrier. It was great. I felt loved, and I started smoking cigarettes, even though it took like a pack before I stopped coughing.
Right?
I felt so good that I was cool enough to finally smoke, and it immediately was a pack a day thing. And it wasn't long, I was smoking marijuana, and I felt like I was on top of the world. I loved it. It wasn't long, I started dating older guys, older than me. It was my 13th birthday, and I was introduced to ice. You can imagine I was immediately hooked. You know, the way I felt, I had so much adrenaline running through my body. I felt really great, I thought, you know. So he actually went off to prison for statutory rape, but I continued to chase the high. I continued to date older guys, the plugs, you know. And so by the time I was 14, I had tried crack, coke. The only thing I never tried was heroin. That was one thing I would watch people just like immediately nod out.
Right.
That scared me. I didn't know then, but I do know now from the overdose training I went through that they were overdosing, and nobody around them knew. And so we're all clueless about that. So anyway, all the pills, alcohol, I was doing it all. And so I was partying. I was able to keep good grades. I'd be messed up while I was doing my homework, you know, but I ended up getting pregnant at 15. I got married at 16. I had to petition the school that I went to. I went to Texas with my brother. He got custody of me. My mom lost custody of me for a while. So we had more credits there than we did here in Arkansas. So I was able to petition the school to let me graduate a year early because I had enough credits. And so a lot of people think, okay, so it's a GED. No, it wasn't a GED. I actually walked across the stage graduation. So I always thought I was a functioning addict. Looking back, I know there's no such thing, but I thought I was. I went on and I got my license to work in a nursing home as a CNA. Then I went on to Eastern College and I became a licensed phlebotomist and a registered medical assistant. And I started going to Pulaski Tech to get my LPN, and I thought I was doing really good, but the whole time my main focus was drugs. So you can imagine the chaos and all the just craziness that life brought. But my kids were little. I had 3 kids by the time I was 19. I got divorced thinking if I got away, I wouldn't have access to drugs. But I didn't realize then I was attracting people that I was just alike.
Right.
You know, even your unconscious mind will attract people without even knowing it. And that's something I recently learned. But so, you know, I can say that I thought if I got out of Conway, Greenbrier area, that I would be able to sober up. And so I sold everything. You know, I ended up getting fired from my job because I was strung out, basically. I mean, that's not why I got fired, but basically it boiled down to I could no longer do my job duties.
Right.
And so I left Conway, Greenbrier area to go to Fayetteville, and I thought it was so pretty up there, college life. I loved it. I thought I was going to do great. But I actually moved into an apartment complex to where everybody around me was shooting up. And when they found out I was a phlebotomist, they were like, hey, hit my veins for me. And of course, I start getting high, and I'm tweaking, and I'm loving, you know, hitting people's veins for them. And it wasn't long, I could no longer get high, so I started doing it myself. And it took 2 years for me to completely lose everything in my life. I mean, I lost my career, and my car, and my house. I didn't lose my kids. I actually reached out to my brother and his wife to see if they could keep my kids for me while I checked myself into something, some kind of program to get help. I checked into a lot like John 3:16 and 17 Ministries and Teen Challenge, and there was even several out of state I checked into, but it all boiled down to it was too long for me, which I regret. I regret that big time. So now when I'm working with people, I'm like, don't cut your recovery short, you know. But so back to that, I checked myself into a local rehab for 28 days, thinking I could go in and get out and be good. Well, I get in there and they want me to do the AA and NA meetings and see counselors and psychiatrists and all these people for different things, and I couldn't do any of it because I finally had a little area of my own with my own bed, and all I wanted to do was sleep. And so I slept through everything, and after like 4 or 5 days, they finally kicked me out. I was back out on the streets. I was too embarrassed to call my brother and be like, look, so here's what happened. And so I started thinking that there was no way out of my problems that I had at that time. I felt like taking myself out of this world was the only way. And that is a permanent solution for a temporary problem, but I didn't know it then, and I'm so thankful I was in a Walmart parking lot because I had access to nothing, and I'm thankful for that. But my phone rang one night, and well, let me back up. When I was checking into all these recovery places, I had a man tell me, well, we're full in the waiting list, it's like a year long, but he said, let me tell you, getting free from addiction comes with a relationship from God. And I was like, whatever, click. and you know, if you asked me back in the day, did you believe in God, my answer was no. Like, if there was a God, why does all the bad in the world happen?
Right.
And that was my answer all the time, you know. So moving forward, back to being kicked out, Walmart parking lot, I'm trying to call anybody and everybody to help me. I've done burned all my bridges. Nobody wanted nothing to do with me. I was such a liar. I was a criminal. I mean, I had a record. I had a long track record. And, well, I finally got a call from a drug dealer of mine. It was like, come over, let's get high. And I'm like, I don't got no money, you know. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. That phone call didn't come from my drug dealer. It came from God, so he could pick me up and use my story for his glory. So I was in a drug raid at his house. We were sitting there getting high, and you know, a lot of these people around me, they were used to this kind of thing. Some were waiting on Fed time. And to me, I was honestly, even though I wasn't a little girl, I was like a little girl scared to death, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I get to jail on a felony charge, and nobody wants to bail me out, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was on Mother's Day, my first Mother's Day away from my children. I was over there crying in a corner to myself, and I had a chaplain come up to me and give me a pink Bible, and I knew, since my favorite color had always been pink, I knew there was something different about that, you know. And so we get to talking, and it ends up that I end up getting saved, and I end up getting baptized in a little silver pan, you know. And it was great, and I felt the need to grow up, the want to grow up. I suddenly wanted to be, back in the day we called it a bad, B-I-T, I'm not going to spell it out.
Yeah.
So, and to this day I call it a thug, because that's what it is. But I suddenly went from being that hardcore girl who thought nobody could tell me nothing to immediately wanting change in my life, you know. So since then, I've had about 35 misdemeanors expunged off my record and 1 felony. Yes, I've been set free from addiction totally, not just a substance, you know. I have got my concealed carry license, and I've got guns in my name now. Because, you know, for a long time, I couldn't even vote. I couldn't vote. I didn't want to vote anyway, but now I do. But it's been amazing. God has helped me overcome some things I never thought was possible. And so I ended up coming back here after I got bailed out of jail by a drug dealer, and they thought I was going to go with them to start selling drugs and get high and running that street life. I didn't deny letting them bail me out. Well, I had no choice in the matter, but when I got outside, I went the other way. So they had signs all across the jail for Goodwill Industries. I don't know if you...
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, and it said help felons get housing and clothing and get on their feet, and I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. And so I went to Goodwill, and I told the lady my story, and she was like, well, I need you to stick around here and get a job, and then we can go from there. We can take all these steps. And I was like, my kids are 5 hours from here. I'm not staying around, you know. Well, I ended up checking myself into a sober living home. I did commit myself to 2 years, but after about 30 days, I felt like I was strong enough to do this on my own. I wish I hadn't cut my recovery short. So anyway, so my recovery has strictly been accepting God into my heart as my Lord and Savior. I'm not going to lie, for like 2 years I struggled. Every time I'd get mad or if I'd get sad or certain things when we'd normally get high, I had to fight that, and it was strong. But I was able to successfully do it, and I just surrounded myself with church, you know, because in the middle of where we are, there's no help at all.
Right.
And I want to change that. So that's when, okay, so when I moved there, I was hiding my life. I didn't want nobody to know. I was hours from where I'd been. I didn't want nobody to know. And I built all these great relationships with people, and I liked it all, and I didn't want to ruin it. So I really didn't want to come out with my life. So I started going to school to be a human resource director. And the whole time I'm listening to my preacher talking about we are called to serve God. We are called to do His will. And inside I really wanted to help people, but I was too ashamed to come out with it.
Right.
Okay? And so I decided to face my fears and listen, because I felt the strong calling of doing it. So I had some bad things going on in my life, and I had to kind of put school on hold anyway, but I'm very thankful for that, because during that time I was able to figure out what I really wanted to do. And I start Googling how to help people, like with recovery. And you know how when you Google something, it'll come up on your Facebook feed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Facebook hears us, no doubt, for sure.
Well, that's when Jimmy McGill started popping up in my Facebook feed. And I'm looking at this man, and he is so happy and proud to be in recovery. And I'm like, wow, I want that.
Right.
You know, and then I start seeing Kyle Brewer on there, and I add him, and all of these peers around, they're all so proud to be in recovery, and that made my confidence level go. And so it was amazing how God lined everything out. Like, I graduated at SAU Tech, and I got a single parent scholarship, and they were so touched by my story. They're like, hey, let me make a video. And I was like, oh, no. I said, I can't even talk about it without crying, you know. And she said, I really feel like if you do this video, I think it'll help you heal, and it'll give you some feedback on how people will see it. She said, you have a powerful story. She said, you're going to touch the lives of others. And I'm so thankful for that lady, that director of Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship, because she was right. The more I tell my story, the better I heal. The more and more I heal, and it's amazing. And so I made this video, and it took a while to produce, but in the meantime, I had already turned in my application to become a peer. I had no intention of getting a new job at all. And so I thought when I did the peer training in the summer, whenever school stopped, I thought I would just do it part-time, like here and there. I thought I was going to be volunteering 500 hours, you know. So it was amazing. I talked to Kyle one day at a track meet, and he was telling me about this full-time position at Bradley County Medical Center, and I was like, wow, like this is everything I want. And I told him, I said, well, I need to see if I can still be able to go to school, because I was working weekends in a factory, you know. I had a man's job. I was doing operating heavy machinery, and, you know, I was greasy from my head to my toe, and it was crazy. But I said, if they'll work around my school schedule, you know, I'll take the job. And so the CEO approved for me to go to school and come back, and it's amazing. And so what I do at Bradley County Medical Center is I am an advocate and a role model to people. Did you want to say something?
No. Well, I was thinking, I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
So,
There's a whole lot
I'm like,
of
man,
good
she's,
stuff right
I know.
there, yeah.
I was so engrossed
It's
that
hard to
I didn't even
stop.
want
It's
to
hard
stop
to say,
you. So let's back up just a little bit,
Okay.
and I'm sure that Kyle's got others, because I know I'm sitting here and I'm just dripping on every word here, because everything that you say is so relatable. And I'm reading the comments here, and it's, you know, people talking about wanting to be able to vote. People talking about how they can just, your story is just so relatable that everything in here, they're so excited about it, you know. And so I was sitting here and I was thinking a couple of things, and I was thinking about wanting to fit in and not having a way to fit in. And I was also thinking about how you managed to go to school and use, and Man, I don't know about you, Kyle, but whenever I use, it's over. Like, tap out. Ashley does nothing. She stays in the house and peeps out the blinds.
No,
Like, that's it.
I was high, tweaking, doing work, getting straight A's.
Man, I don't even know.
I've always been super book smart, but when it comes to street smarts and common sense,
I got none. None. And so, did you ever sit back and think, oh my gosh, I wonder how well I could have done had I not been high?
Yes.
You know, and so, you know, just speaking with you, you can tell you're an eloquent speaker. You clearly have a brain inside your head that's a God-given brain that you're using.
Absolutely.
Which is amazing, you know. And then fast forward a little bit, and you were talking about getting kicked out of the rehab for sleeping. So the very last time that I went to a psych facility. I went to a 3 to 5 day psych facility for 11 days. And then I got to graduate to drug rehab, right? And so in that first 3 to 5 days, I slept. And I remember there was a tech there who actually is in recovery as well. And she said, Ashley, you've got to get up. And I was like, look, I've been high for 2 years. I've been awake for 2 years. Let me sleep.
That's what I kept
Please
saying.
just let me sleep.
All I want to do is sleep and eat.
I literally have been awake for 2 years. I just want to take a nap.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. And I know that a lot of the drug rehabs and stuff now, because of insurance purposes and stuff like that, the people who are on amphetamines, methamphetamines, cocaine, they don't necessarily get that sleep time that some of the others do. And so, there's a part of me that says that's a great disservice. You know, because I really was awake for 2 years, you know?
They told me there's no detox for methamphetamine.
Exactly.
I was like, what?
So I'm supposed to sleep for 6 hours and get up and run.
Right. But the jail, when I got there, you know, they asked me all these questions. I didn't lie. I wanted help. I was honest as I could be. I was like, yeah, I just used last night, you know? Yeah. And so they put me on a detox program in jail.
Right.
So they knew more what they were doing than this rehab who's supposed to know what they were doing.
Right.
You know?
And so, you know, I was sitting over here relating to that. I remember getting yelled at, Ashley, you got to get up. You've been awake for 2 years. Let me alone.
Leave me alone.
Well, I just want to say, Samantha, thank you so much for sharing your story like that. I mean, it's a powerful story, and the fact that you share it with such confidence and courage is inspiring. And I know that you're inspiring people on a daily basis. And one of the things that I hear in your story is that, you know, you were going to school, you were on the surface, it might have looked like you were doing well, but underneath that there was, you know, a lot of dark stuff going on.
Yes.
And then you got to a point where it looked like there was some bad stuff going on. Nobody would have maybe looked at you and said, hey, in a couple years, this person, you know, may be the person that walks alongside your loved one and helps them, you know, get into recovery. And so how you just faced adversity as a single mother and as dealing with addiction and school and family and, you know, relocating. I mean, lots of adversity and challenges in that story, and how God has brought you through and set you free and now puts you on a solid foundation today. It's, you know, that's my big takeaway, is just that's inspiring, and I'm grateful that you shared that story.
Thank you.
It is. Like, your transparency is just it's so refreshing, you know. And so we were leading into peer recovery here, and we were talking about your job in Southern Arkansas and the things that you do there. And we were talking about the stigma that you faced when you were speaking about making the video for the scholarship. We were talking about the stigma that you faced, and you were afraid to jump out there and say anything.
I was.
Right. And so, you know, I think it's so important, because if I'm just sitting here looking at you, I see a very professional, well put together woman who has confidence, that you can clearly see a bright light around. Like, that's what I see. I don't see all of those things from your past that got you here. And so I think it's so important that people understand that by breaking that stigma and saying, hey, I was that girl sitting on the side of the road that was high out of her mind, couldn't feed her kids, I had nowhere to go, and so my only place of solitude was to go to my dope dealers.
Right. It got so bad that I had bruises covering from my neck down. Every single vein on my body I had done injected, and I had track marks everywhere. It was ridiculous. I had no want. When it got to the point to where I didn't want to take care of myself and I didn't want to be a mother, I was able to look at myself and go, oh my gosh, how far has this gotten, you know, like, because even though I always got high, I always had people everywhere tell me I was a good mom, even though looking back, I wasn't. I mean, I was, but I could have been a whole lot better, you know. And so when I look at my kids, it's a clear indication how bad it used to be. I remember times that I had a little bit of money and we had no food in the refrigerator. And what did I choose?
Drugs.
Drugs.
Every time.
Every time. There was times that I had the choice to go and get an apartment and have a house to live, and I chose sleeping in our car and getting high for me, you know, and it's bad. And I know that I'm not alone, and, you know, we get so caught up in it that we don't know how to get out of it, you know, and so.
That is just, I mean, it is so refreshing, because I think a lot of times, especially if you're looking at this guy back here, so Kyle is just so, and that's already been mentioned several times in here, just so you know, that you are just so professional and
Yes.
well put together. And we were also talking about that before the show.
Yes.
And so to think that you've been in the same places that we've been, and look at where we are now, which is all completely God-given.
Yeah, and how many, you have 3 of us right here. Maybe there's some details of our story that are a little bit different, but basically the same story, exact same story. Hopeless, in a dark spot, trapped in the cycle of addiction. We found recovery, we're living a new life, we have purpose, we're helping other people. How many hundreds, I would even say thousands of people are here in Arkansas and around the country that are, you know, currently in that dark spot that we were not too long ago, and that they want a new life, you know, and that when we see someone that's struggling, like, we have to learn to see past that and to see this. Like, this is the potential that people have. That when you're in the grip of that, it's hard for you personally to see, but that's why we're there to empower people to see that, hey, there's future beyond this moment, and like, let's walk through that together. And because, I mean, I sit here, you sit here, you sit here, but how many hundreds of thousands of people sit right beside us? Because if it wasn't for those people investing in our lives, walking alongside of us, answering those phone calls, those little words of encouragement, you know, I wouldn't be here, you know. And so I say that just to say that, man, I'm so grateful that we're here. But, you know, in reality, there are so many people just
Right.
like us
That's
that are doing amazing things.
I know, and it's so inspiring whenever I meet another person like us that I would have, standing next to them on the street, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And then, you know, whenever we went to see Cassie up in Newport, and then she introduced us to some other people who were working in the hospital, and come to find out, they had, what, 4.5, one had 4.5 years in recovery, and this other one over here. And so they had seen Cassie, and they wanted to sign up for peer recovery, you know, to get into the training. And so just seeing these people in the jobs that they're doing, we would never
Never.
you know. And I think it's just, and you know, like I shared earlier, talking about peer recovery, what it does for us, you know. Even having, the last time I was at a peer conference, I literally had 12 days sober. Literally had 12 days sober. And here I am meeting people like us, and I thought, I'll never get there. Are you kidding me? Like, all I know is this just great dark pain. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a bank account. I have a negative several bank accounts. Like, how am I ever going to get here? And lo and behold, 2 years later, here I am. And it's because of people like you guys that have stood beside me and said, all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other, and we're going to hold your hand and get you there. And that's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Samantha, you just got to the point where you were going to talk about your job at Bradley County Medical in Warren, Arkansas, partnership with the Arkansas Rural Health Partnership. But before that, because it was just a good segue, you were just talking about your kids. You were kind of painting that picture of what it used to be like. I mean, I want to hear about your kids. You know, your kids today, your relationship with your kids today, what does that look like? How has recovery changed that?
Oh man, recovery was the best gift I could give them. We go out all the time. Like, I have, my new addiction is going out and exploring the world. Things we never saw anything, but we go out to attractions and we explore different cities and state parks. And you know, I had somebody tell me just recently, like a month ago, are you trying to rub it in people's face, all the posts you put on Facebook? And I was like, what? They're like, you're trying to rub it in like you're better. And so I kind of stopped putting the stuff on Facebook, but I was like, it's my page, you know, unfriend me, you know. But,
Right.
So it's amazing. Like, we're really close. I'm definitely way better than my mom was. You know, we spend quality time. We eat dinner together. We read together. We make sure that their homework is, and we do homework together. Like, we sit down, like last night, we were up till 10:30 doing homework together. It was amazing, but our relationship is amazing. You know, we went from absolutely nothing to building up. And yes, I'm talking about material things, but also things like, because when I say this, addiction affected me and everybody around me. So we had to all heal, and we're still healing. And that's a hard process. But not only have we had to learn how to redo our manners, we had to redo how we love each other. We had everything. And it's a process. And I'm still, we got a whole list of things to work on, and we're just slowly marking things off the list. But when you get to the point, when you hit rock bottom in addiction, your whole life is unmanageable. And when I say your whole life, I mean your entire life. You don't go to doctors and dentists like you're supposed to for checkups. And we've had to redo all of that. And now, looking at us, you know, we actually got it going on with love, and we have so much knowledge and wisdom that comes to us. It's amazing.
One thing you said earlier, we were giving you a hard time about, where were you at last night, the overdose awareness event. What you said, though, speaks to, I think, a change in your life. So answer that question. You know, what were you doing last night that kept you from being at the event?
Well, my girls were at the dance studio. I had to get them there, and I had to pick them up. And so in the middle, I was doing homework. And then I went back and got them, and it's 9 o'clock at night. And they're like, oh, we have homework too, Mom. And I'm like, okay, well, I pulled it out. I took a picture of all of us sitting at the table. We were all doing homework right there. It was amazing. And that right there is a bond thing, you know. It's amazing. And I know it's kind of weird to be doing homework with your mom, but, you know, you got to do it. If you want a better life, you got to go after it. You know, so many people tell me, wait till your kids are grown to go back to school. And I listened for a while, but then I started thinking, you know what, no, I'm going to do it now, because I don't want to be 50 or 60 starting over in a career, you know. So.
Well, not only that, but think about the role model that you're being by showing them that they don't have to settle for middle of the road.
Yes.
You know, and that's incredible. And you know what? For all those people out there who say you're putting it in their face, they're jealous. They need some recovery, right?
Right.
Right. So, you know, and I'm sitting here thinking, you know, overdose awareness last night. So you, by posting a picture of you and your family and what you're doing in recovery, that in itself is awareness. So you were there.
Yeah.
You were there.
And see, I had to retrain them. They were getting bad grades in school. I had to get them back to where they were getting all A's and B's, and now they are. And, you know, my son, he picked up that hardcore gangsterish life, you know, and all he knew how to do was fight. And he was getting 3 or 4 write-ups a day, you know, and he's come so far. And, you know, there were so many times as a mother I wanted to give up on him. I'm like, okay, what's going on here, you know? I've done turned my life around, and here he is stuck. And I wanted to give up on him so bad, and I'm so thankful I didn't, because the man he's becoming now, it's amazing. And I look at him and I'm like, I did that. Yeah. You know, I did that.
Well, in recovery, like, it's so much more than not using drugs or alcohol. Like, and what you're describing there about your decision last night, I think paints that picture in a beautiful way. So recovery, it's really a selfish disease, you know, and like everything is driven by our desire to change the way that we feel, and we have to do this for me.
Yes.
So last night, you're in recovery, right? And so attending a recovery event could be like, that's a really positive thing for you to do.
Right.
But you recognize that you are not number one any longer, that your family, your kids, so you made a selfless decision and put your priorities and your decisions to the side, and you did what was best for your family. That's and right. That right there, you know, remove drugs and alcohol, those are like behavior and character changes that what we get in recovery, and that's amazing.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. Because, you know, your story is just so amazing. Yeah. I mean, it really, like, there's parts of it where I'm just speechless and I get a little choked up. And did you know you made it through it without crying?
I did. I teared up a little bit.
You had me over
you did. Okay, so how about let's talk about your job? Yeah. Like, I'm interested in peer recovery in small parts of Arkansas where you're having to drive upwards of 6 hours a day sometimes to help people. Tell us what that looks like.
Okay, so I would say about 30% of my time I spend with individuals, and it's not just like a one-time thing. It's I have to stand by their side until they make the decision, you know. But not only am I working with them, I'm working with their families. I do a lot of emotional support and try to help them understand why addicts do the things that they do. Because a lot of times people think it's just so easy, just make the change, but it's not that easy, you know. And so I do a lot of emotional support. I would say that's what I do the most. I do a little bit of paperwork. I mean, it ain't much of anything. And we do conference calls by Zoom with like Kyle and our people, and then we do like group supervision so we can stay on top of our job and our policies and how they want us to act to the people we're taking care of. We got the conference next week. I'm so excited about that. It's in person. That'll be my first. But they have a lot of leadway there for me at the hospital. They allow me to go out into the community, and so I have been literally to everything around passing out my business cards. I've literally passed out 700 business cards since 4 months. In 4 months, I've passed out like 700 business cards, and I have a whole nother 1,000 to do, and I'm so excited. So I'm fixing to start going from Bradley County around to like Dallas County and Cleveland County, because that's what they want me to do. So I said I don't mind doing it at all. So another big thing I do is transportation. From the very beginning, I've been helping them. I'll get them, because when these people come to us, they are broken. They have absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, a lot of times they just have the clothes on their back. And I've been there. And so you know, not only am I providing food resources and clothing resources and, you know, free dental clinics and free medical stuff, I mean, I'm helping them get to detox. And I'm not just dropping them off and saying, bye! You know, like I'm literally calling and checking, visiting if I can. A lot of them are not letting us visit because of COVID.
Right.
And then I'm getting them from detox to rehab, and then from rehab, I've had 2 go on into sober living. I'm going to tell y'all about those in just a minute, but it's amazing. And so when I'm checking on them, I mean, I'm kind of following them through, trying to be level-headed. And, you know, I'm learning a lot of it from this dude right here.
Right.
I got him on speed dial. And so if I come across something I'm not familiar with, I'm like, Kyle, what do I do? And he's so professional, like we were talking about. And it's amazing. So I stick with them, and I let them know that they're doing good, and I'm in their corner, and I'm rooting for them, you know. And that's pretty much it. I get to go around to different places and telling my story as well, and they want me to do that so that maybe I can help draw more business in. I've had about, if I don't look at the numbers, I'll get it wrong, and I don't have them here, but I think I had 7 community outreaches. And out of those 7, I got 3 into treatment. And then in the 4 months at the hospital, I've had 30 people in their room that I go in. Now, these are people who don't really want help. I'm just kind of going in and talking to them and relating my story. Out of those 30, I think it's been 5 into treatment. And so one of the community outreaches has done detox, rehab, and now she's in sober living with her 2 children, and I'm so proud. And she was my friend too, so it was really amazing. And so also I've had one at the hospital. So I want to tell y'all about how peer recovery really works. It's amazing to see, because it's not me, it's the position and the shared lived experience. So before I ever even started my first day, I was told about somebody at the hospital, okay? And I was like, I can't wait to meet him. You know, and I kept thinking in my mind, Lord, please help me, help this man change his life around. Help me, you know. He's a retired vet. He was overseas for a long time. And so anyway, he's been coming into Bradley County Medical Center. But let me first say, we have a 4-star hospital. So the service there is amazing, okay? And they're not backed by Baptists. Like the other people who have 4 stars in the state of Arkansas, they're backed by Baptists, and we're not. So it's the staff that's making it happen. And so they're really great. Now we have this one particular guy I'm talking about. He comes in twice a week, calls the ambulance and says, I'm going to kill myself if you don't come pick me up. Well, they know the drill. They go pick him up. He's come in with his BAC levels at 0.6.
What's that? What's the BAC level?
The level of alcohol in their blood.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in that 0.6, that could kill you.
Right.
So they do the same routine thing. They hook them up to IVs, give them fluid, give them food, let them sleep, let them sober up a little bit. He goes right back home, does the same thing. Here we are, twice a week. It was my first time that I talked to this man. I went in there and I was like, what's going on? You know, I let him tell me who he was, and I tell him who I am, and we relate our stories together, and we're in there crying together, you know. And he was like, well, let me just tell you something. I don't really want to kill myself. He said, it's my only way out. And I said, what do you mean it's your only way out? He said that him and his brother live in a duplex side by side, and all they do is drink from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. And he said life is chaotic, and they just argue and they fight, and it gets so bad a few times a week that if somebody don't separate them and get them apart, they're going to kill each other. You know, it's bad. And so he said, I'm not really going to kill myself. I get out, go back, and I do it again. And I said, you're doing this twice a week? And he was like, yeah. So that was like on a Thursday. That Monday he called me. He told me he was going to go home and drink all the rest of his alcohol and then call me. I didn't think he was really going to call me, but that was Thursday. Monday he called me. Was like, he was drunk. I mean, he was drunk. I couldn't even understand a word he was saying. And so I was actually on vacation at that time, but I was able to line up some people in the community to help get him, pick him up, take him to detox, and then when he got done with detox, I've been there ever since for him. But he is now, so he completed detox, he completed rehab, and he went on into sober living. And it's amazing. And so this is how the peer thing works. So I'm always talking to him. He's one of my favorite people to talk to. Well, let me tell you what his accomplishments first. Are we running out of time? No. Okay. And so right now he is working on heavy machinery. And he says it's not a very good paying job, but there's a veteran's job that he wants, and it makes 3 times the amount of what he's getting paid now. But he can't have it unless he has his own registered vehicle. And so he's saving up to get his own vehicle. I'm so proud of him. And so, but back to how this peer thing works, is he called me one day and said, do you know Casey Copeland? And I was like, oh yeah, I know Casey Copeland. And you know, he's telling me, he said, he does what you do. He's helping people change lives, and he's been where we've been. And I'm like, that's right. And you know, he'd already told me he was interested in doing the peer thing. He's like, but I don't know if I can make it 2 years. I don't know if I can. I'm like, you can. Well, after talking with me and talking with Casey Copeland, he said, I'm coming back to Warren when I get my 2 years. And he said, I'm going to help people change their life around. And so this peer model, it really works. It's amazing.
It does. It really and truly does. Yeah. So, all right, we are kind of getting close. Is there anything you want to talk about?
Well, I would just say, so, you know, we have a really good understanding of where you're at, what you're doing, but just to highlight, so you're in Warren, Arkansas.
Yes.
Bradley County Medical Center, and your position is funded through a partnership with the Arkansas Rural Health Partnership.
Hey, Lynn.
Shout out to Lynn Hawkins
thank you.
And the team over there. They're amazing. And you work in the emergency department?
Yes.
Correct? So someone comes in, and like you mentioned earlier, either they maybe want help or they don't want help. You go in and you provide emotional support. You're just there with them in that moment. You plant seeds of hope, give out your card. And if they want to pursue maybe treatment or recovery resources or any other community resources, you help kind of act as a bridge between the hospital and the community. And I know that you've called me on many occasions, and being on vacation, and I remember like, Samantha, you got to be on vacation, self-care, but you were determined to help this man, and to see what the fruits of that labor is amazing. And then again, you called me, I think last week, and you were here in Little Rock, you know, a couple hours away from where you work at, but you recognize that transportation is oftentimes one of the last barriers to treatment that can keep someone from getting the help that they need. And you were here, and one plan, it didn't go through as it was supposed to. And so, you know, hey, you're troubleshooting, trying to figure out another plan. And you know, and at the end of the day, I think you had stayed for a couple hours over than you planned, but you got the person into a program, you got them the help that they need. And I mean, that's just amazing. And you mentioned me as calling me, and so we'll just hit on that real quick as peer supervision, how important it is that Samantha and our relationship is she works in the hospital and I'm her peer supervisor, and I have experience in the hospital setting, so when she's troubleshooting or navigating an issue that she may not know what to do, she's able to call me and we're able to talk through that, and we're able to work collaboratively with her and the team there at Bradley County and Arkansas Rural Health Partnership to provide the best possible peer services that we can. And you know, having an organization like Bradley County and ARHP that will support this and believe in it, and 4-Star Hospital to put their, you know, to make it possible for that position is amazing. And I'm glad and honored that I can be your peer supervisor. And I just got to say that you're doing incredible work. And, you know, I'm proud to just say that I get to be on the other line of that phone sometimes.
Thank you.
Aww. That's awesome, guys. You both of you, I mean, you know, doing what I do with Jimmy, sometimes I don't get to witness firsthand the things that you guys do. A lot of times, the peer work that I'm involved in is someone on the other end of the phone, you know. Like we were talking about prior to the show, you know, I had someone from Kentucky call me who's wanting to move to Arkansas and get into sober living. And so when I hear about someone who's going above and beyond, you know, I think about Samantha Ellis, you know, I think about Josh Ramsey, I think about all these people that, you know, their name pops up on my phone, you know, every other day, if not every day. And those are the people who are out there. I call them our beat peers. You know, like beat cops on there, they're our beat peers, you know. I think they're amazing. And it's something that, you know, I'm not really as versed in, you know. I don't handle that side of it as well as you do. And it's a blessing to have people like you in my life. And you need to know that. And so, you know, I'm going to give you the last couple of minutes. Just say real briefly anything that you would like to say to our viewers out there.
Okay. Well, I would say if you're out there and you're watching this, or anybody you know is watching this and you're struggling with addiction, have them reach out to us. Get in where they fit in. They don't have to be ashamed. They don't have to be embarrassed of their past. Some of the worst pasts make the best stories out there.
That's right.
So become part of the recovery group we have going on.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
And it's an awesome network all around Arkansas. It's all around the country, as a matter of fact. So just one more thing real quickly, everyone. We have our peer conference, Peer Evolution 2021. If you're not signed up, make sure you go to the UALR Mid-South website. Make sure you're signed up for that. We have some friggin' amazing people coming.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked about that. Next week, we are going to be live from the conference. You guys be sure to either come see us at the conference or pick up live on air with us. You know, I'm so grateful to have had my great friends here with me today. I think this show was awesome. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out to me on the Recovery Clinic. You can certainly reach out to Kyle or Samantha, but please reach out to someone. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.